Welcome back. Breaking news this morning. Mylan agreeing to acquire Swedish pharmaceutical giant Meda for $7.2 billion in cash and stock. This is the company's fourth quarter earnings were released as well. Joining us right now is the CEO of Mylan, Heather Bresch, here in the studio. Heather, good to see you.
You too.
Thanks so much for joining us. Well, congratulations on another deal. You said the last time you were with us, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
And you certainly weren't. What does Meda give Mylan?
No, look, Meda it's a very strategic complementary asset and has even become more so since the last time that we approached the company back in 2014. Since then, they acquired Rotafarm, we acquired Abbott, established products in Europe. So today, the Meda combination really builds out, completes Europe. We both have the GX space, the RX, the over-the-counter, takes us into emerging markets, 16 new countries that we did not currently have commercial infrastructure in. So really allows us to now take a company with over 2,000 products, maximize the commercial footprint. And, you know, I think you see this, the macro healthcare industry, the global competitiveness has never been more important from a COGS perspective, infrastructure perspective. So, you know, it really complements, lets us build out, and we believe will bring a lot of efficiency to the Meda model.
I'm glad you mentioned the global competitiveness, because it feels like, you know, when you don't see growth, you acquire growth. And that's been going on throughout the healthcare industry. But in a day like this, when we see markets selling off, when we see more worries about the global economy, does it become that much more important to ensure that you've got the scale required in a very slow growth world?
Look, I think we look at Mylan and say we're very fortunate because we have been based on fundamentals for over 8 years. We've delivered 26% CAGR through 2016. So, you know, we've talked about this before. We have been building for the long term, but not losing sight of strong earnings growth year over year. So as we look to continue to build for that long term, you know, you can't, the short-term price fluctuations, especially when you have the macro market dynamics you have going on right now, you know, if anything, we believe it's a great entry point for Mylan, because I think as people step back and really look at the value proposition for what we're proposing in the near term as well as the long term, we were able to take the opportunity of our $6 target for 2018 and said that this gives us the opportunity to accelerate that to 2017. So if you look at what we're going to continue to deliver, you know, I believe if nothing else, you should take advantage of these market conditions and buy in.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, the healthcare stocks have gotten crushed, and of course, they were the best performers last year. When you look, so it's not necessarily like a Mylan story, but the entire industry is really coming under some pressure. When you look at global volume growth down the road, what can you tell us?
You know, look, if you look here in the United States, generics have become the backbone of our healthcare system. And as we look around the world, we see that continuing to happen. Utilization in Europe continues to slowly tick up. Utilization in Japan, utilization in Australia, the emerging markets as they continue to put healthcare in. So, you know, I think what we do know is pharmaceuticals, everybody needs access to pharmaceuticals. So we believe our mission to provide access to the world's 7 billion people can only be done if you're doing it on the most competitive global basis.
Right, and everybody needs access, but they also need access at affordable prices. Enter the generics, which is what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
Ensure that prices stay there and stay at affordable levels. Let me ask you about some of the key products like EpiPen, which of course you got some success recently because your competitor was out of the market.
Right.
Where are you in terms of that, your expectations in terms of that build out?
Sure. EpiPen, great brand franchise for us, and we are continuing to invest in really building awareness and educating around anaphylaxis. You know, we have grown the market tremendously over the last several years, and we see a lot more runway. With that being said, EpiPen for Mylan today represents less than 8% of revenue, and certainly on a Mylan Meda combination, it'll be even less. So certainly doesn't take away the importance of that need, but from a diversification, that's what, you know, our scale continues to do for us, not be reliant on any one product, any one country. It truly is about having global scale and being able to absorb the volatility, you know, in markets such as this.
Does it worry you that here you are doing this deal with Meda, and I know that the pursuit has been for a long time, but you're opening yourself up to all these new markets. You said 16 new markets, emerging markets really critical, at a time that those markets are actually slowing down.
Yeah. Well, you know, and so sometimes your timing can be good, can be bad. I think in this instance, our timing's very good because we have little exposure to those markets today. We're going to be able to kind of build in a very measured way that I think as those market comes back, because as we said, at the end of the day, everybody needs access to high quality, affordable medicine, which is what we'll provide. So how we enter those markets, how we take this foothold and now build out, we have the opportunity to do that, I believe, as that will come back and the generic utilization will be an essential part of the healthcare systems.
What does the year look like for you?
Great year. We came out with our guidance range of 485 to 515. We said with or without Meda. We're expecting to close at the end of the Q3, but we see it a great year, 16% top line growth, 16% bottom line growth year over year. So, you know, look, we're growing in all of our markets have been great, and as we continue to build out this infrastructure and level, you know, our global supply chain around this commercial infrastructure we have, we're now really able to optimize assets in a whole new way.
You would think that those numbers would be something that investors want in an environment where everyone is searching for growth.
Right.
And yet we see, you know, a real negative reaction this morning. The stock looking between 44.20 and 44.27. Any thoughts on what the heck is going on this morning?
Yeah, like I said, it's a good time to buy. It's, you know, I think fundamentally the company is sound. We've delivered 26% CAGR since 2008 through 2016. So, you know, we've continued to build that long term. You can't measure it quarterly. You certainly can't measure it by daily stock prices. And, you know, I think we've shown our commitment to return value to shareholders, and we see doing that same growth trajectory into the future.
Hi, they'll expect more payouts then. Heather, good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks so much. Heather Bresch is the CEO at Mylan, and we'll